If you're a leader and you're looking to scale your organization, you want to make your company big, you're going to need a team to help you do that. And one of the scariest things for leaders when they're, especially a startup founder, is to give away some autonomy, to give empowerment to your team, to let them make decisions. I've been there. It's super scary. Fortunately, I talked to Myles Anderson today. He's the CEO at BrightLocal. And what he's been able to do, going from starting his company to now 200 people in his team, he has given a lot of decision-making power to his team to let them do it. And the learnings that he's gotten out of this has been great. The growth that he and the company have made out of it has been phenomenal. He goes through 3 specific things you should do if you want to give empowerment to your team and scale to make sure it goes really well. So check this out. He goes deep on this. I think it's really important, and it's really, really great stuff that he shares. So give it a listen.
Welcome to SaaS-Story in the Making, the podcast that features the people who made the software world what it is today and the leaders who are shaping the future of technology. Here's your host, Matt Wolach.
And welcome to SaaS-Story in the Making. This is Matt Wolach. I am your host. Super glad to have you here. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate you being here. Make sure you are subscribed to the show. You don't want to miss out on any of the cool things we have coming up. Lots of great actionable advice for you. So hit that subscribe button right now. And today is going to be a great one. I think we're going to get a lot out of today and our special guest, Myles Anderson. Myles, welcome to the show.
Matt, delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really delighted that you're here as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the conversation. So let me tell everybody about you, Myles. Myles is the founder and CEO at BrightLocal, and BrightLocal builds and offers a unique set of local SEO tools. And their tools make it easier, faster, and more effective for SEO agencies, SEO freelancers, and local businesses to promote their business and clients online. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Myles has built his business and what he's been able to do to accomplish getting to be successful. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Once again, Myles, thanks for coming on the show.
Happy to be here.
So tell me what's going on with you lately and what's coming up.
Yeah, sure. I guess maybe a bit of kind of context for the audience about where we're at in our kind of evolution. So we've actually been going for 13 years. So started in 2009. We are an independent bootstrap SaaS business, and this year we're going to do around $13 million in revenue. And we've been growing roughly 20% year on year since around 2012. So probably hitting our kind of 10th year of profitable growth. And that's how we run the business. We kind of run it with a long-term view, trying to hit around 20% growth each year, but with profitability being a key factor because we haven't got any outside investment. And so remaining profitable allows us to keep investing in the business, which is really about bringing more people into the operation, wherever it's needed, whether it's in our engineering team and our sales team, product team, sort of, our customer success team, wherever it needs to be. People drive the business forward. And so that kind of growth allows us to keep expanding the BrightLocal team, which allows us to keep sort of pushing the product forward and pushing our kind of customer service, customer success forward at the same pace. So yeah, so that's where we are. We're headquartered in the UK. And as you said, our sort of primary aim is to help marketeers get better at local SEO. Actually, our mission is to help them become brilliant at local SEO. We do that through actually pretty curious and interesting mix of SaaS software, essentially a bunch of SaaS tools that help people get the insights and understanding for where their marketing may not be going perfectly for them and how they can improve it so they can attract new customers. But we also have a service arm as well, which we help customers sort of spread their information out online, and that's sort of driven primarily through our sort of service arm. But we're also really big on education. So we have a BrightLocal Academy, which is a kind of online portal of kind of training videos, also some kind of downloadable assets to help people understand more about and learn local marketing. And we also have a really kind of consultative educational approach in all our kind of sales and customer success as well. So those 3 things, software, services, and education, is how we want to help marketeers become brilliant at local SEO.
I think it's amazing. I think it's a great combination. I want to kind of dive into that in a second, but really what prompted you to start BrightLocal? How did that come to be?
Actually, it's a bit of a sad story for me, if I'm really honest, with a positive ending. So I'm 45, and about 13, 14 years ago, I had a job in a business that I really liked. But I got made redundant, and it really hit me hard. It frustrated me deeply. I felt embarrassed. I had 2 kids at the time, and I looked at myself and I thought, they're going to grow up thinking their dad's a failure. And I took that as a real big, emotional sort of personal blow. But then I picked myself up and I vowed that I was going to do something different with my life. I didn't want to go back into, I think, another employed experience that hadn't actually worked out kind of very well for me. I'll be honest, I hadn't had a stellar career at that sort of point. So I thought, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to do something for myself. I'm going to do something to make my kind of kids proud. And so I set about trying to determine what that would be. Spent about 6 months trying a few ideas out, speaking to as many people as possible. Met my now sort of business partner kind of during that kind of process, and sort of started BrightLocal, and then have been sort of building it through a lot of grit and determination, blood, sweat, and tears ever since.
That's so cool. I love that story, and it's funny. I have kids too. It's funny how once you have those kids, it kind of changes your focus and what you're trying to accomplish, and it all kind of becomes about them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to test myself. I've always thought, can I do this? Can I start something and build it and grow it? Do I have the capacity and the acumen for doing it? And then so, yeah, this kind of negative moment in my life was the catalyst for finally giving it a go. And so I now look upon that as a blessing rather than, the sort of horrible experience that it felt at the time.
Very, very cool. So, okay, you launched. How did you go about getting some of your early customers? What was working in the early days for you guys?
Yeah, so bear in mind we had zero money. We tried to get some investment, but we had no track record. We had no prototype. We had very little experience, and we had no sort of seed funding. So we weren't a great prospect for a lot of sort of VCs and angel investors. And we're a UK-based business, and the market at this time, even now and then, is not quite as rich and full of opportunity as, let's say, the US kind of investment kind of market is, particularly around SaaS businesses today. So we had to basically graft really hard to kind of acquire customers. But one of the things that was a real catalyst is we launched a product that is now sort of defunct and has been sort of moved out of our platform, but it was free. It was free to use, and it was a little widget that businesses could configure, could put on their websites, and that would help to generate reviews on places like Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor, Yelp, and it was customizable and it was free to use. And so actually that generated quite a large, significant email list. In the early days, it was free. We had a beta project as well, and I think we probably got to an email list of around 3,000 using that kind of technique. It also allowed us actually, in the kind of niche that we operate in, the sort of local search marketing industry, to build connections with some high authority people who kind of embraced it. They liked it. They liked what we were doing and what our intent was, and they shared that with their networks as well. And the industry has quite a good sort of connectivity between the various agencies and sort of consultants and professionals working in it. And so there was quite a lot of word of mouth sort of through that. And so, yeah, I guess they were influencers in our field. They liked what we did, and we really used that to drive forward, who we were, what we were trying to do, and to build up that initial email list.
That's phenomenal. I love that. I think that's so smart, and getting people in at a maybe non-financially committed level, and then working them and kind of getting them more and more committed into a deeper level into your funnel is definitely something that works very well. I don't think a lot of people do it well, but it sounds like that was working for you, is getting them at least in committed to an email, and then with the list, kind of working them and getting them more and more committed to understanding that they can actually become a customer.
Yeah, the thing that we also did quite early at the start is we recognized a gap in the content marketing opportunity in our business around research, i.e., local digital marketing was relatively new. E-commerce is flying, other areas are flying, but actually local businesses were really struggling to get to grips with what digital marketing could offer them. Bear in mind, this is back in 2009, so we're a good sort of 13 years down the line. So it's a different sort of landscape. There wasn't anyone who was really forging a name around sort of insights, research, trends, and analysis in the industry. And I have a real passion for research. I love using data to inform what we do. So we set about really looking to do sort of survey-based research, as well as kind of sort of data-driven research into what was kind of going on and driving visibility in search results and what the trends were. And then we just published that data for free, and then we pushed that out to that network of sort of 3,000 email addresses and building, and we gave it away for free. And we invited kind of commentaries and etc. And actually that helped not only get our name in front of them, but also establish us as an authority and someone that they can trust and listen to. So even before we'd asked them to part with any money, we were giving a lot to our kind of community so that they would be aware of who we are and to build that initial trust in us.
I think that's awesome. And I've seen you talk a lot about autonomy and passing down decision-making capability to your team. Why do you feel like that is so important?
So a little bit of kind of context. Before I started BrightLocal, I think the biggest team I'd run had been probably 2 other people. And now I run a team of 200. And so
Wow.
every day is a new step down a journey I've never been on before. And there've been times where we've gone, we've hit sort of various milestones. We went from 2 to 5. That was actually pretty significant. Then we got to 20, and then 50, and then 100, and sort of so on. And last year, I think we went from about 170 to 200 people. And I don't have a lot of experience doing it, and also it's quite hard, and we work in a pretty fast-paced industry where we have to move quickly. And what I found through, let's say, experience or trial and error, pretty much the same thing in my book, is that we to move quickly, we had to make quick decisions. And as a business gets bigger, you have to have a few more processes in place. You have to have people managing sort of smaller teams that are kind of growing to bigger teams. But what I didn't want to remove the ability for people at all levels in the business to move quickly and make decisions. I didn't want to create bottlenecks. I didn't want to kind of create red tape. And so by really focusing on creating a strong culture, which at the heart of it is kind of a few things, but there's a high level of autonomy and control for individuals, as well as a culture of really having kind of caring about individuals and being incredibly supportive, both on the sort of personal front, but also through coaching. We've developed a high autonomy, high output culture where people make quick decisions. Sometimes that leads to great results. Sometimes it leads to not so great results. The key things with the not great results is that people aren't afraid to put their hand up and say, look, I made a mistake. We tried something out, we got it wrong. Here are the learnings. And then everyone in the business can learn from those. Everyone in the business has the benefit of that experience shared broad and wide, so that we don't have to make those mistakes even at the same level, to the same degree. And I found personally, for me, I'm quite an open, transparent individual. I don't want to be meddling in people's affairs. One of the things I really disliked working in sort of larger organizations with more hierarchy and politics is questions like, what are you doing? Where have you been? It's just like, I spend my entire time, whether I'm in the shower, on the train, often having to do with my family, thinking about work. It doesn't matter where I am, so I kind of want to create a high trust environment where people just brought their best selves to work every day, gave them lots of autonomy to make decisions. In a supportive environment, if they failed, we pick them back up and we go again. And actually, now that I have a team of 200, I find that actually I've got 200 leaders in the business, pretty much leading in their own individual areas, and that actually makes my job a lot easier because I'm not worried about where they are and what they're doing. I know they're fully committed to driving their area of the business forward, and collectively that enables us to continue on this this 20% profitable march growth that we're on.
I love it. And I think that a lot of people who are a little worried about giving away some autonomy and giving away some decision-making power, they're worried about those mistakes and that what if they don't do it right? But just kind of like how you explained, Myles, when you do that and when they make the mistake, you then learn from it and the whole company learns from it, not just that person. But at that point, you now become stronger. And so it actually strengthens that person and the company as a whole. And I think that it's super, super powerful. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it in some really stark experiences. We've had a couple of times where we've had, let's say, existential problems in the business that could have, they could have stopped us in its tracks. They could have entirely, taken the business down, and we've had to rally very quickly to identify a solution for those and move forward with it. And because everyone felt compelled they're on the same journey with us, they felt compelled that this is a business that they cared passionately about because they felt so involved and aligned to the mission and the objective. We made it through those harsh moments and we came out much stronger for it. I think we had a culture where everyone didn't feel trusted or didn't feel that they could contribute 100% for fear of making mistakes, for fear that they wouldn't get listened to. I don't think we would have come out of those situations either as quickly as we did or as positively did, maybe even never at all. So I think it's absolutely critical that you have a culture that does that. But a key thing that we've tried to do along the way, and we haven't always got it right, but we've embraced it, and it is definitely getting better, is to have a few things really clear in the business. One is having alignment around what you're trying to do. Everyone understands where you're going, what your mission is, what your objective is, and how you're going to want to get there. Then having a really clear, strong culture with really well-defined, we call them beliefs, I call them values, and then making sure that those are well communicated, understood in the business. And when people come to make decisions, they go, okay, so I've got option A, option B, and option C. Which one is going to get us closer and faster to our goal? And which one of those decisions aligns with all our values and beliefs? And then with those two things in mind, they can weigh up the options themselves and usually make the right choice, or the optimal choice if there isn't a perfect choice amongst the group. And I would say in the majority of cases that ensures that we make the right decisions. Or actually, if the feedback we get from that decision, the data, the results of it aren't great, we can course correct pretty quickly because we recognize that actually isn't where we want to be going. And I think also what's really great about a culture people are prepared to speak up, we call a psychologically safe culture, is people share those issues. I don't brush them under the carpet. I don't have a fear that there is a problem somewhere in the business that I don't know about. Most of my time, people come and tell it to my face, like, this is rubbish, or we're not, you said that this is the type of business we are, we're not doing it. You're not living up to the high standards that you set. So actually, I don't have to worry that I will be concerned there's something I don't know about that's a problem, because people will talk about it, they'll shout about it, they'll either raise it with me directly or they'll raise it anonymously through these sort of anonymous sort of feedback channels that we've got. So we work really hard to establish that understanding of the business, that we expect people to trip up and fail, but when you do, tell us about it. There are problems in the business, tell us about it, and it's my role to fix those and to help people find solutions for that.
It sounds like a great culture. Congrats on creating something so amazing that, I bet that you've got a lot of people that just love being there, and it's very attractive to new talent coming in. That sounds like a culture that a lot of people would like to be a part of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It really does help on that front. I do think, we're not without our sort of employee churn, but actually our sort of vision about that is that we want to be a positive stepping stone in someone's career. If we could take someone in who learns a huge amount, grows, develops a new career, then goes on to stellar heights, then we're delighted that we've been part of that process. And everyone here knows that. And our retention is pretty good. Retention is quite hard now in the sort of marketplaces that we work in. We've got almost the lowest level of employment ever in the UK, and rising sort of salary levels. So there's lots of tension around people's jobs and roles. But yeah, I'd say people do cherish it. They like that. Certainly helps with recruitment as well. We talk a lot about that in our kind of literature when we're going to market with new kind of job descriptions or our about us in our careers pages. Are very much focused on the culture side of things, and it brings the right people to us. We've clearly set out the type of business we are, so that we attract the type of business that people who've got sort of similar values to us. So I wouldn't say it's definitely not been one single step. We've probably taken 100 steps, sort of continual optimization to get to that point. I think we started the journey not knowing that we were on the journey, and maybe halfway through we're like, hang on, we're creating this now, and then we started to get a bit more kind of clear intent about it. So we knew in our hearts probably initially that there was something we were trying to do, and then it started to kind of crystallize in our minds, and then we could actually really kind of run with it because we recognized the good things that we were doing, and we could start to do more of those.
I think that's fantastic. What a journey. And I wonder, in your eyes, from your perspective, Myles, when you think about this, giving the autonomy and helping people make decisions, from one hand, you could see it increasing stress because now you're not in control, and now you're hoping that this person who doesn't have your experience or background does it right. On the other hand, I could see it decreasing stress because you're not having to think about the little minute details all the time. So from your perspective, where does that balance? Are you increasing or decreasing stress?
It's a huge decrease in stress. I don't think it'd be possible. I don't have the brain power to hold all those thoughts in my mind at one time. I don't have enough minutes in the day to even kind of get close to it. So for me, it was absolutely about reducing my role. And the number one mantra I tell everyone in the business is my kind of my role is to make the fewest decisions possible. And then I can get the people, my leadership team as well. My team, your role is to make as few decisions as possible, and to keep pushing that decision making down. Keep letting your team know that they should be making decisions, that they have the power to make decisions, but then also support them to make sure they've had training around this, obviously kind of skills training to do it. Make sure that they understand how we make decisions, aligned around our mission and as well as our culture, and then support them if they have any questions. but ultimately try to let them be the ones that make the final decision, because that breeds a lot of sort of positivity in terms of their own roles. They feel that they're autonomous, and they're getting a grasp on the mastery aspect of motivation. They feel like they're really kind of committing to the mission and driving the business forward. That brings them to work more motivated every day, which in turn reduces the stress on leadership. Because as well as not worrying about, are they making the right decisions, you have to worry less about how motivated they are. And it's not always perfect. Nothing is ever perfect, and we make missteps, but we kind of course correct pretty quickly. But yeah, for us to kind of grow at the pace and the consistency that we need to grow at, that's exactly what we have to do. Otherwise, it becomes a very, very hard process to manage. It becomes very hierarchical, very bureaucratic, full of red tape, and that slows everything down. And we literally can't afford to do that. Otherwise, our customers will go elsewhere.
Yeah, no kidding. I completely agree. I want to talk about your expertise as well, SEO. So how does local SEO differ from other kinds of SEO?
I guess if you can imagine a kind of Venn diagram, there's elements that are unique to normal SEO. There are elements that overlap, and there are elements that are unique to local SEO. In many respects, a lot of the core tenets of standard SEO, it's about raising your prominence and your authority online, so that when Google looks at you, they go, great, these guys look like they know a lot about subject A, and B, other people seem to really respect them because they link to them, for example, or they cite them on sort of various sources. And so with that sort of normal SEO, you do that by creating a website with great content around the topics that you want to be known for, or the products that you want to sell. You make sure that your website is high performing, it's quick to load, it's got good usability, good user experience, and then you shout about it. You try and get as much content out on the web. You try and get links, people linking back to you. You do podcasts and sort of other kind of webinar types of appearances that try and reach a new audience, as well as generating content around your brand or around your product. Local's kind of similar. The challenge that local businesses have is they don't often have big brands, particularly they're a local plumber, or a local accountancy firm. They don't have kind of big brands. Let's say they're up against Walmart, for example, which obviously everyone knows is an enormous household name. You can think about the kind of brand gravity that Walmart has versus a small local hardware sort of store. But actually, the nice thing about local is, as well as having a website, you get what's called a Google business profile, which is kind of Google's directory for local businesses. So when you do a search in Google, let's say you search for hardware store near me, you'll get a little map turn up with 3 local results that sits above the kind of numeral organic listings. And that's the advantage that local businesses have over non-local businesses, because they get to appear in that little map pack. And that drives, let's say, 60% of traffic and leads to most local businesses if they get really kind of prominent within that. And actually, there's a bit more of a level playing field between the local hardware stores and the Walmarts in that environment, because they can compete on a sort of level playing field. So a lot of the tactics that you would do to optimize your website if you're a bigger business, you would do as a small local business. But then you've got a few additional features like Google My Business Profile and Bing Places, which is Bing's equivalent of Google Business Profile. And then you've got a bunch of the directories like Yelp, for example, where you can get a profile, you can generate reviews, you can attract customers and traffic through that way. And then you've got a whole proliferation of kind of Yelp-esque sites in different niches. You've got sort of hotels, you've got medical, dentists, wedding planners, wedding venues. Pretty much every business vertical you can think of has got a sort of vertical sort of silo of sites that kind of fit that kind of Yelp model. And so actually those provide more shop windows out there for your business to reach local customers searching your type of product.
I love it. So what are some things that these local businesses can do to make sure they show up in those top 3 and they get noticed by Google?
Yeah, I think what's interesting, I was talking to an agency sort of recently around this, and they sell SEO services as well as sort of PPC to sort of local businesses. I think one of the key things that local businesses need to understand is it's not free marketing. SEO might appear to be free because you're not actually handing over dollars to Google to appear in the results, but it's an investment still. You've got to invest in the time and the skills of someone to create your content, craft a good website, optimize your Google My Business profile, generate links for you, get a system for generating online reviews. And that's just manpower. That's man hours of someone who's got a decent set of skills, and you have to pay for that. I think a lot of local businesses who are new to this. They want quick results. They want the phone to ring. They want people to walk in the door and to buy from them. And so some of them will start embarking on an SEO journey and not see anything for ages because they're battling against established competitors, and you've got to get to the same level as them. So it's a longer term sort of payback. It might be 6 months, but it's absolutely worth doing if you kind of do it properly. But you have to understand the commitment. But in the short term, obviously, you can get the phone ringing. You can get leads coming to you by using PPC and other more kind of paid channels where you can pay to get that visibility in the search results. So I think it's really important that businesses understand that although SEO seems like it's free, it's an investment. It's just paying in a different way. It can drive a huge amount of value to your business, but the payoff time is longer than paying for PPC or paying for leads through other sort of paid social activities that you might do.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. You've been awesome in sharing your wisdom and a lot of the knowledge that you have about this, Myles. It's super, super cool for you to come on. I'm sad that our time has ended because it's been so great and lots of learning for me. So I want to make sure, though, that our audience can learn more about what you're doing and BrightLocal. What are the best ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. As I said at the sort of start, our mission is to help every marketer become brilliant at local SEO. So probably the best place to start is go to brightlocal.com and have a look at our academy. So it's a free to use academy. It's got around 9 courses that dive into all aspects of local search marketing with a sort of initial kind of beginner's guide, which is a great place to start if you're really uninitiated. If you're more initiated and you've got a few more skills and you're further down the path, then look at the other academy courses. They're all provided by external experts within our network, people who we think are brilliant in particular fields. They've come online and they've shared their time and expertise with us. So that's a great place to start. Obviously, brightlocal.com, you can find out all about our services, our software. You can get in touch with our customer support team or have a sort of sales call to understand how we might be able to help. So those are the best ways to get in touch with my team about the business. If you want to reach out to me personally, it's Myles, which is MYLES at brightlocal.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn.
I love it. Fantastic. We'll put all that into the show notes if you're listening on the podcast. And if you're on YouTube, you'll see it down in the description. So make sure you go there and check that out because it's some great stuff. Myles, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
But I've loved it. Great set of questions, and I always enjoy meeting other sort of SaaS entrepreneurs and talking about the journeys we've been on.
Absolutely. I do as well. And for everybody else out there, thank you for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation as much as I have. Make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss out on any more upcoming talks with great leaders like Myles. So hit that button. That's going to get you all set. And I really appreciate you coming. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time. Take care.